I've been sitting here without my mic on. Stupefied Hodgkin, thank you very much for telling me that my mic was not on. I'll probably just cut that part out of the recording, and maybe I shouldn't though. Well, anyway, technical issues. Let me explain what's going on here just so we all know. We are picking up where we left off with the Git project of this R720 QEMU deployment. We are adding some new virtual machines onto my Kubernetes cluster. The Kubernetes cluster currently has virtual machines on a T640 PowerEdge server, and the R720 is, I've just got it secondhand off Craigslist, and I'm just going to put some new virtual machines on that one and add them to the cluster. I'm working on this for a few days, and we're currently on part 3. All of the videos in this series are being added into this pull request, and so the code changes, the actual playbook, and all of the videos, along with some supplementary text, are all together in this one pull request. So if you're watching this video on YouTube in the future, you can go to git.eom.dev. I'll have a link in the description, and it will lead you to this much more rich experience. Also, while our playbook is executing in the background, because I've already started it, I want to share again that what I am immediately doing here in this playbook is adding compute power to my Kubernetes cluster. I'm taking 5 virtual machines. Each one's going to have 2 CPU cores, virtual CPUs, and I am going to add them into the cluster, and that's going to give me more compute power. But the actual problem that I am trying to address, as I mentioned yesterday, is this one, Nextcloud crashing. And as I can't pull up the pod since it's executing a playbook right now. We'll put that up in the background. But what's actually happening with Nextcloud is that there are disk I/O failures. There are too many things trying to read and write to the disk at one time, and that disk is a RAID 10 array that is a physical disk on the T640 hypervisor, and so adding more compute nodes to that cluster isn't really going to solve that problem. Even if the pods end up moving over to this different machine, they're still going to be trying to read and write over the network to the same NFS file share, and because that's the only place the cluster is aware of. So really, in the full deployment of this, we are actually at the end going to deploy a new network file system client that will be added to our Kubernetes cluster, and that's actually what I'm expecting to solve the problem. I'll need to go to my deployments, my Helm charts, and change them so that they are using the new client, so that won't immediately solve it, but there we go. Stupefied Hodgkin, you say, I just use virtual machines for Android devices. Yeah, actually, I don't remember what's the name of the project. There's something for specifically emulating an Android device to get Android experience on your Linux device. And actually that, I did a previous video, and there's a, on my discourse server, discourse.eom.dev, there is a thread on that forum where I am talking about my Dell Latitude 7230. What is that thing? It's a rugged tablet laptop convertible thing. It's like an inch thick. It's pretty cool. And that thing especially has a lot of peripherals that would be useful for Android emulation. So I could actually use this same Ansible playbook that I am using to deploy QEMU virtual machines on my PowerEdge server. I could use that to deploy it to any Linux device, even my desktop or my laptop or anything like that. Festive Stallman has joined the chat. Hello, Festive Stallman. And Stupefied Hodgkin says, Visual Studio does have built-in emulation. Visual Studio is... I'm forgetting my software applications. Visual Studio is... Yeah, that's the code one. I didn't know that they had... Oh, it does have a... I didn't know they had a built-in emulator. That's pretty interesting. I'm using Kate here as my open source alternative to Visual Studio, and I don't know that it has that. It has this LSP client, but I don't know what LSP actually is. So Android Development Kit. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like that on Kate here, but that is pretty neat. Okay, let's take a look. In this playbook, waiting for the guests to initialize. Okay, actually, so this is something we've been running into quite a lot, where I just have a programmed 5-minute delay in this Ansible playbook. The virtual machines, as I've mentioned in the previous videos, all have something called Cloud Init installed on them. They are coming from Debian upstream. Let me see if we can get the actual link right here. I am downloading this, not that, this. No, not that. this link right here. They're Debian 12 generic AMD QCOW2, and that has an application called Cloud Init, which allows me to attach some configuration files in the form of an ISO, this user data and metadata file. They get wrapped up into an ISO and mounted onto the virtual machine, and Cloud Init is going to see those files and know what to do with them to turn this into the virtual machine of our dreams. So I'm giving it 5 minutes to do that right here. Once that happens, I'm going to need to SSH into each of those machines. Well, they're all going to reboot. And then I need to SSH into each one so that we can trust their identities. So that's it. Well, okay. I did this previously this morning, and so I already added all of these virtual machines to my known hosts file, so I need to actually edit that, and I don't know if that's actually secure to show on stream, so I'm going to do it on a different screen, which doesn't actually help because I'm using, what's that, tmux. Tmux is like terminal muxer or something like that, and it allows me to like split my terminal into a bunch of different smaller terminals, but it has the downside of, like, I guess it's a downside in this sense where all of the terminals will kind of mirror the same thing, so me pulling up a terminal on a separate window doesn't actually hide anything from you. I've achieved that now, so I don't need. Seems like it's adding multiple entries for each, so I hope that's correct. Let's switch back so you can see. Try the same thing. Nope, I need to do it one more time. Sorry for that. Yeah, so it doesn't, in my .ssh file, it's not exactly clear what is referencing which, so I don't want to delete one that doesn't need to be deleted. One more time. And 17 and EVM. So those are 5 virtual machines to be added to the cluster, and then 1 virtual machine to be just saved for my own personal use. And the cluster machines are going to have 2 virtual CPUs each. That gives us a total of 10 virtual CPUs there, one virtual CPU for EVM, so 11 virtual CPUs total, and that leaves one left over for the hypervisor. And I'm saying that because my PowerEdge R720 server has 12 CPU cores, so that's why I'm having 12 available to me. Okay, so yeah, now that I have added all of those identities, I can continue with our playbook. It should continue along like a dream. Make that nice and large, and let's go. Come on, work for me. Yes. Okay. I like. Is this like cloud computing? Yes, it's very much like cloud computing, but it's self-hosted cloud computing. So on Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud, you'll probably be using Ansible playbooks to deploy your virtual machines and run Kubernetes clusters on those virtual machines, to which you will deploy Docker containers and other kinds of pods. This is all of that. The only difference is, rather than me paying Amazon a rental fee for using their servers, I have my server right over there. It's in the corner of my apartment. It can get kind of loud, and it was a bit expensive, but I'm running it myself. This is a bare metal Kubernetes cluster. And on that, I am self-hosting all of these federated services. So I have Owncast, which is where you are watching this right now, owncast.eom.dev. I also have discourse.eom.dev, gitt.eom.dev. I have a Luanti server, Mindtest. I'm self-hosting all of this content on my bare metal Kubernetes cluster right over there, and using it to teach people about how to build them themselves. And so that's kind of a bit recursive in that respect. And let's see, what's it doing here? Well, it's doing stuff, so I'm not gonna interfere. But yeah, this is exactly cloud computing. This is what that is, except for the fact that when people say cloud, they usually mean a giant multi-million-dollar data center owned by Amazon, and this is actually a few $1,000 server owned by Eric, and so it's my cloud, and you can have one too, and that's why it's cooler. I'm curious why it's saying okay for some of these things. Like, they don't need to change. I know the control plane is in there, and that seems fine, but this is where we failed last time, and it seems to have worked this time. Ooh. Okay, well, I am actually pretty happy with the result that we've gotten here. I guess swarm computing would be a better term. Cluster computing, swarm computing, whatever you want to call it. I'm getting a little bit confused, not confused, but thrown off by the word swarm here, because Docker has a specific feature called Docker Swarm, and Docker Swarm does kind of what Kubernetes does. It's just a much more lightweight version of that. So Docker Swarm is an interesting thing. Why is my stream ending? My stream just ended abruptly for some reason, and it seems we are still online as far as I can tell. Just want to make sure. I'm going to assume we are still online. Okay, so what was I saying there? Yeah, swarm computing, cluster computing, whatever you want to call it, that's basically what this is. And that is different from cloud computing. So yeah, taking one big server, dividing it up into virtual machines, and then getting those virtual machines to work in a Kubernetes cluster, and then taking a different physical server, doing the same thing, getting virtual machines and getting them to participate in the same Kubernetes cluster. All of that is going to be cluster computing, or swarm computing, as you put it. Yes. So this is actually where we ran into a problem last time, because after I ran this playbook, I wasn't able to SSH back into those machines. So let's just see if I can get into Alpha Worker 13. Yes, that looks good. It should ask me to install some stuff, which I will say yes. That's just from my own personal user environment. Part of the Ansible playbook says install this role called Erico Meehan, which just like gives it this nice ZSH prompt and stuff like that. So I can see that that has worked, and we can get back on to our business. So this last task failed. What did it say? So NFS external provisioner. This does not exist. Okay. Well, I guess that is an obvious problem. So I guess I think the names need to be unique. Yeah, see that? It exists. It already exists. I don't know if that's... It's actually saying that NFS subdir external provisioner does not exist. But it actually does exist because I already have one for the T640. And so I think here. Changing that name will be sufficient. Let me just try that again, and I am going to delete everything other than that. That's the only task that we're going to execute. I'm not going to save it like this because I want those back, but let's execute the playbook. Easy. Okay, so let me just go ahead and undo that. Yeah, put that back. And I want to go to the control plane now. And I want to see that this is actually working. How do I list the pods in the cluster? Git nodes. There they are, Alpha Worker 17, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Looks perfect. They're on a newer version than the other ones. I don't think that's going to be a tremendous problem. It's just a minor version difference. So it looks like those have been added to the cluster. But like I said, Nextcloud, if we get our pods, yeah, these are still restarting quite a lot. Maybe I don't want to start using that network file system provisioner client thing just yet. Maybe I want to let this run for a minute and see if those errors keep occurring. I'd be curious to know if I'm correct about that. You know, if I go ahead and tell all of these Redis instances, for instance, to start using the R720 NFS provisioner, then I won't know if adding more compute power by itself solved the problem. Whereas as it currently is, I can leave this running for 24 hours, and if I am still seeing all of the same errors, then I know that adding more compute power did not solve my problem. And then I can change one thing, that is the telling Redis now to use this new NFS provisioner, and if that does solve my problems, then I know that that was the problem. So that's probably a better way to do it. It would make for better content if I could finish it right now, but I think having these virtual machines added to the cluster, we are good to go here. I'll go ahead and get into EVM. Go ahead and install our stuff. Okay, yeah, so this is just a little virtual machine that I decided to add into this since I only had one spare virtual CPU, could only be used for something small. Rather than add yet another compute node to my cluster, I decided to just make this a separate instance of its own, and I can basically use this for some small background tasks. If I have something tedious that I need to do on my computer that I don't want to have my computer actually occupied doing, then EVM will be useful for that. But, you know, it's not really a big deal what that one is. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do our Git stuff just to make sure that all of that's squared away. Git status. I think, oh, okay, so I think I went ahead and, yeah, I guess I did. So at some point I was trying not to add the like updated submodules, but I think I did that earlier, so I'm just not going to worry too much about it. I'll just add everything. Yeah, and see, they aren't even changing anyway, so that's fine. Okay, let's go back to Git. And let me think. Fresh. Okay, so the scope of this pull request is to set up the PowerEdge R720 with QEMU and Kubernetes. We have done that. We have done that all the way in the sense that we have the virtual machines running. They are persistent. They are part of the cluster. And we also have the network file system enabled. It's not being used, but it's enabled. I have separate issues created here for... this one is for, you know, taking all of the stuff that we just did to get all these virtual machines. In the first video on this thing, in this video here, I find that I was actually missing that code. So that was a rude surprise to find on the stream. But yes, so I have intended to move it over to this Ansible role libvirt guest repository, but I guess I just never got around to that. So I need to do that separately. Mastodon, I have something I need to update for that because in trying to add a little bit more space into my cluster, I told the pods that are for Mastodon to go onto a node that I have dedicated for GPU usage. These do not need a GPU, but I also don't have many things that do, so I thought I'll get a little bit more capacity out of my cluster by moving some stuff over there. Now that I have added those virtual machines, I can undo that since it's no longer necessary and kind of a bad practice. But that's separate from this. And then finally is this one. This ticket is the reason that I opened this PR, but I am not going to be able to close it in this PR because I am going to wait. What I would want, in order to close this ticket, I need Nextcloud to not be crashing. And I don't know yet that Nextcloud is no longer not crashing. As I just mentioned with the network file system, I expect that I need to tell the services to start using the new client before that problem will be resolved. But I'm testing that theory at the moment. So this pull request is actually not going to close any tickets, any issues. But that's okay, it doesn't need to. I'm just going to add this video in as a comment here, and I will then merge the pull request. And unfortunately, I can't really show that on the stream because well, maybe I can show that on the stream. I want to add a comment to it later. Can I Comment on a merged pull request. That's a question. Let's see if I can find one. Let's go to, I think you have some existing pull requests. No. Okay, that one's closed. It was merged. Can I still comment on it? It looks like I can. Okay, so that's, I guess that's fine. Maybe what yeah, I can still comment on a PR that has been merged and closed. Is it closed? I don't know. But yeah, I guess I can go ahead and merge this right now, and then I'll leave a comment on it later that will include the recording of this video so that we can see it later, or you can see it later, and all of it will be contained. So I think that's going to do it for now. We now have a Ansible playbook that will easily deploy virtual machines onto a PowerEdge, or honestly any Linux server running Debian. There was kind of a lot more to get the original cluster set up in preparation for this, and that is going to be in the main playbook in the code. Let's see, I'll just point it out to you. Yeah, this main playbook is what takes me from 0 to having a Kubernetes cluster to begin with. So that's elsewhere. But yeah, I guess that's really going to do it for this stream. I'm actually quite glad that we succeeded this time. I was worried about that. Little Debbies. I like Little Debbies too. I don't have any here though, unfortunately. Do you guys have any questions in the chat? I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about this or anything else. You don't have to stay on topic. We can get off topic. Let me see. I want to remove the work in progress label. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and merge this. I think we're good to go. 11 files changed. What else changed? When was the last time I went to a mall? Not too long ago, actually. There's one. I can't actually see it from my window. I'm pretty high up in a skyscraper, but there's one nearby where I live, and I do walk there occasionally. It's not too bad. Malls are all right. They've got a cool aesthetic to them. I like them, but I always hear people talk about them like they're supposed to be social places, and I don't know. I don't think I ever used them as a social place. It was a place to buy things, but or skateboard. I had a buddy in college, Bailey. If you're out there, Bailey, I hope if you are stupefied Hodgkin Bailey, then that would be pretty cool. But Bailey and I rode skateboards through the mall at High Point University. That was pretty sweet. Anyway, what else changed in here? Roles, that one little guy, that's okay. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna merge this. When was the last time you were at a mall, stupefied Hodgkin? Mall I keep going to keeps dying, and I went to an outlet mall that have the store closing. Outlet malls can be pretty good, even when they're not closing. They're usually like the outlet malls. It's kind of known for the cheaper stuff, or I guess last season's stuff is what the outlet malls have. So I'm going to create a squash commit here. If you're not already familiar, what a squash commit is going to do is take all of these little messages that I have of working through errors and pull correct task definition from version 1, It's going to take all of those and get rid of them, and well, it's not going to get rid of them. They're still going to be here on this branch, but when I merge this branch into the new branch, it's going to reduce all of these commit messages into one single message. That way the commit log on my main branch stays nice and clean. So I'm going to create a squash commit. It should ask me for things. I don't need all of this. That's a little bit too much. I don't need that as a commit. Halloween spirit stores. Yeah, outlet malls are really good for that. There's one around where I live. What's it called? Not Seagrove. That's the pottery place. But there's also another one, Tanger Outlets, near where I live. That one's actually really, really nice. It's kind of a ring, and you walk on the inner ring, but it's an outdoor market. It's like it's strange because the buildings look as if you are in the interior of a mall, but it has no roof, and that's a really cool place. But there's another outlet center near where I live. It's that way, and I don't remember what it's called. Oh well. So let's see. And I'm not gonna say it. That's it. Okay. I think we're good to go. Well, let me update my local version. Okay, I think we're good to go. I'm not going to do anything with those roles. Those are submodules, Git repositories within Git repositories. So I'm not going to do anything with those right now. And I think that is going to about do it here. Unless... No, I said I wanted to wait. Do I though? Yeah, I guess so. I can show you what we will be doing next time. So for most of my services, if I go to DevOps here, and then let's see, like Mastodon, for instance. All I'm going to need to do in the next one, assuming that this hasn't fixed the problem, which I am expecting it not to, I will come to these tasks files, and these are going to be, I have each service, I didn't start off doing this, so they're actually kind of all just crammed into one repository at the moment, but slowly, over time, I am pulling them out into their own Ansible role repositories, and each one is going to do one thing, and that is going to be deploy my service, or it's technically someone else made the service, but deploy the service to my cluster with the configuration defined here. And all I will need to do, assuming that adding more compute did not fix the problem, all I'm going to need to do to fix that is find where we have defined our Redis instance. It's here somewhere. I might not have, I might not be, yeah, here it is, Redis. So this is calling a sub Helm chart. Helm is like a package manager for Kubernetes. And so I just call a certain Helm chart to deploy this service and all of its necessary resources. Part of that Helm chart is this subchart for Redis. Redis is a cache, in case you don't know. And all I'm going to need to do is, in this part of the configuration, I'll just tell it that its persistent volume claims should be taken from the R720 NFS client. Update the deployment. That should all happen pretty smoothly in the background. And again, assuming that adding more compute has not solved the problem, that should. So I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to wait and see if I continue to see these errors. If I do, that will be the next step. We'll have another PR, and I will probably live stream that. Otherwise, I think I'll be good to go. So with that, I think we are good. Thank you very much for joining me here today. I am going to put this video, where am I going to put this video? In that pull request. Let's navigate back to it just so we can see how to get there. Yep, it's closed. This one. Yep, it will live right down here. All right, cool. Thank you very much for joining me. If there are no more questions, then I will be leaving you. I'll give you a minute to respond to that because I think there's a bit of a delay. Some upcoming streams I have planned for next week on Tuesday. I will be streaming Luanti with my sister. It's a pretty regular thing at this point. I will also be, I have an unboxing that I want to do. I'll just leave it a mystery as to what's in this box. And I think this weekend I might do an unboxing for this and talk about the project that I have in mind for its contents. But for now, I shall leave you on tenterhooks. Alrighty. I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. So again, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Follow me on Mastodon. Toodaloo. Thanks, everyone. Bye.